All right, well, hey, today you're going to learn about augmented chords. You're going to learn how to voice these chords, how these chords are made up, and how you can use them in your walking bass lines and even in soloing. So stick around for that. So if you don't know me by now, I'm Donald with the Bass Instructor of the How to Play Bass online course at iwanttoPlayBass.com. Jump over there, subscribe, become a free member, and when you're ready to get serious about your bass playing, go ahead and sign up and get started reaching your goals. Also, subscribe here, hit that bell notification, get in the loop, and don't miss a beat. I've got lots of bass gear reviews and bass guitar tips, so definitely do that. Now, let's get back into it. We're going to talk about augmented chords. Now, if one of my favorite songs out there is "Oh Darling" by the Beatles, and that very first chord they play is an augmented chord. So you can listen to it. It's just a nice sounding chord, and on piano it really sounds beautiful. So when you see this augmented chord, you're going to see it written out as the letter, either, like I say, the Nashville number system, you might see a Roman numeral, and then you'll see AUG, or you'll see a plus sign beside it instead of an AUG. You'll see either or, and that'll tell you that's an augmented chord. And it's the augmented chord. You can use the whole tone scale over top of it. Is basically how it works. So it kind of sounds a little out, but when you play it on piano, it really sounds nice. It's a very, they kind of call it sometimes a dreamy chord. You can get a dreamy sound out of it. So it's definitely a neat chord. But if you just play it on bass, it sounds a little, little tension in there. But it's definitely a cool way to come up with some bass lines. When you see an augmented chord, you want to know what notes to target in that chord. So let's say we've got a B augmented chord. We're going to target the B. We're going to voice this. It's just major thirds stacked on top of one another. Major thirds, because that's how you can use that whole tone scale over it, because it's a symmetrical scale. Just thirds, major thirds stacked on top of one another the whole way. So as we talked about inversions in the major chord and the minor chords, when you invert the augmented chord, it's identical all the way down. You can play the augmented chord right here, the whole way up. So when you invert an augmented chord, you're basically just changing it to, you can do it as long as you're playing those notes in that chord. But you're also, if you change the G augmented chord, you invert it to, go ahead and move the G up an octave, you're inverting it to basically a B augmented chord. But you can do it. You can definitely do it. But it's, that's another interesting thing about the augmented chord, that it can become another different augmented chord. So you can kind of use that over a G augmented chord. Okay, and it'll work well. So that's just a little interesting thing about it. But like I said, the makeup, it's stacked major thirds the entire way, so you can go all the way down everywhere just using major thirds. And like I said, we're going to go in the B augmented chord. We can use the whole scale, B whole scale, whole tone scale, and just, you can use that over an augmented chord. But you want to target the notes of that. So if you see a C augmented scale, you're going to know to target the major third from the C. A major third interval from the C is an E, and another major third interval from the E is an A sharp, or A flat, or a G sharp. So, and then you just keep going up. You can go from that G sharp, another major third from the G sharp is going to be your C. Alright, so they decided to cut grass today, so hopefully you don't hear that. If so, ignore it. But so you can play the B whole tone scale over the B augmented chord. You can, and those notes are all going to line up. It's, like I said, symmetrical scale, and the pattern is the same. So it definitely has a distinct sound, and you can hear just those major thirds stacked on top of one see, it's got its own sound, and that's, that's the augmented chord. And like I say, when you see an augmented chord, you can go right to the whole scale, whole tone scale, and just play that over top of it. But it's usually just passing by. And like I said, listen to "Oh Darling" by the Beatles, and the very first chord they hit out there is an augmented chord, and just distinct sound, just stands out on its own. And it's a very nice chord to use when you're writing in your compositions and stuff like that. So keep that in mind when you're playing, when you're writing your own stuff. To think about that augmented chord. It's right there. So hopefully that helped you. If it did and you got some value out of it, hit that like button for me. Help me help you, and I will catch y'all on the flip flop in the next videos. Bye now.